morning, Mr. President. I am James W. Biggs, Chairman of the National Aeronautics and Space Association, and I heard you planned this meeting today with me.
Hi, yes, I am Ronald Reagan, and I scheduled this meeting today to talk about matters of national security.
What sorts of matters of national security? I mean, my administration does have some history in our aeronautic pursuits, such as rocketry, but at the present, these rarely extend far outside of the scientific field.
Well, as you know, the Soviet Union continues to expand their nuclear stockpile each day, and I'm just trying to think of ways to counteract this without hurting the American people and their wallets.
Well, I think we might have to take a different approach then, because the present tactic of just building more nuclear weapons, although that will deter the Soviets, it doesn't really have a good defense. So I think what you might be getting at would be a way to defend against these nuclear weapons, to have a way to protect the American people without just building more and more nuclear warheads in this sort of arms race that we have. Is that right?
Why, yes, that's exactly right. What do you think your administration can provide to me and the American people?
Well, we could provide different things depending on which means you want. Of course, we have been doing some research on laser and energy weapons for some time, as have the Soviets. But also, there could be other methods as well. For example, small rockets to shoot the warheads as they enter the upper atmosphere. We could also have attack satellites too, since we do have some experience in satellites and their orbits. And well, if you want a real comprehensive solution, a mix of all of these would surely provide safety for the American people. Hello, this is James W. Biggs again, and I'm back here to discuss more in depth the plans I came up with the President and some of the findings I reached with NASA. So the first of the proposals I came up with the President is the Brilliant Pebbles program, and this is a pretty poetic name for it. The plan here would be to launch up small capsules in a rocket and leave them in orbit around the Earth. It would sort of be like a life jacket. Inside of this, when triggered from the ground, a small rocket with a guidance system would come out, as you can see in the picture on screen, and this would maneuver itself to intercept any launches that it may be in the range of. We believe that this would help protect against intercontinental ballistic missiles that, go into the upper atmosphere and into lower parts of space, but also may help against any sort of space weapons that a country may produce in response to something like this. Overall, the Brilliant Pebbles program is a fairly realistic one to implement. There's nothing too advanced that would need to be created. The only drawback would be that the number of these life jacket miniature rockets that would be required would be quite a few, which would necessitate multiple rocket launches and may drive the costs significantly up for any meaningful level of defense, since, the Earth is so big you'd have to have quite a few to cover the entire area. The second proposal I discussed with the President was about lasers. And although the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and equivalent Soviet administrations had done research on this, this is a bit more of an experimental thing. The project name for this was Project Excalibur, which was thought to be X-ray lasers, which would be focused on a single location and would be able to pretty much destroy it before it could hit anything. The basis for this were findings that copper atoms spread on slides could be focused, they could focus light from a neodymium laser into a single point, and it would become very hot, which could, theoretically, if expanded, destroy a rocket. Now, this is not very realistic, and the findings by the university about the lasers were not able to be replicated, even on a small scale. So I believe, although this would provide a good defense, it seems very unrealistic, and actual further research on this would likely be very expensive and probably would not result in very much meaningful. The third major proposal I discussed with the president were about satellites, and this could be implemented from existing technology, although it may create some problems in the future, and this would be to basically ram satellites into either enemy satellites or things moving slow enough where they could actually be maneuvered into it. Now, this would be very realistic to implement since many of these satellites have small rockets to help guide themselves or move different directions slightly. So these could be, aimed at a single target. However, there would be major drawbacks with this, even though it is pretty realistic. For one, the debris created from a collision would have to be tracked, since that debris would be going around the Earth in an orbit, and if not tracked, could seriously damage other spacecraft, since, it is going hundreds of miles per hour, and if you're not careful, it could pierce a hole in something, which could be catastrophic. Another problem is that it would not be able to stop things going very quickly, for example, rockets or missiles, since those don't go into an orbit around the Earth, and the time which they're in the upper atmosphere is quite insignificant, so it really wouldn't be able to be a full defense. Though, in a worst case scenario where there is some sort of space installation that would need to be dealt with, this could be done, especially since there are many older satellites that NASA's in control of, such as, many of these navigational satellites and weather satellites from the 60s and 70s. They could be used in this way, although obviously there would be drawbacks with it as well.
Good evening. I'm here to propose a plan for national defense for you, the American people. Yes.
Mr. President, what form would this change to national defense take? Is it an expansion of the Army, the Navy, or something else?
Well, this isn't anything like you said. This is a new defense against nuclear weapons, something that me and the director of NASA have been working very closely together on.
How will NASA's research help protect against nuclear weapons?
Well, this would take multiple means. One being the beautiful Pebbles project, which uses miniature rockets to attack incoming nuclear weapons in space. The second being lasers, and the third being anti-missile satellites.
There will be no further questions. This Congress of the United States shall enact the President's proposal into law.
What if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their security did not rest upon the threat of instant U.S. retaliation to deter a Soviet attack, that we could intercept and destroy strategic ballistic missiles before they reached our own soil or that of our allies? I know this is a formidable technical task, one that may not be accomplished before the end of this century. Yet current technology has attained a level of sophistication where it's reasonable for us to begin this effort.
Although the Strategic Defense Initiative was enacted into law by Reagan, it proved to be too expensive and far-fetched to keep, especially since it had the potential to trigger a Soviet reaction. During Bill Clinton's administration, the SDI was cut back and was taken out of law in 1993 after the Cold War had ended.
As we cross this threshold, I ask for your prayers and your support. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.